Okay, what if I told you that your house isn't actually an asset, or that your salary, it has almost nothing to do with whether you become wealthy? Sounds crazy, right? Well, today we are diving deep into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that pretty much flipped the whole world of personal finance on its head. We're going to break down the core ideas that have helped millions of people, literally millions, rethink everything they thought they knew about money.
So the whole book kicks off with this really powerful question, one that I'm sure you've asked yourself. Why is it that so many smart, hardworking people just struggle with money? I mean, you see it all the time, right? And then you've got other folks, maybe with less obvious advantages, who somehow manage to build huge fortunes. So what's the deal? The author, Robert Kiyosaki, he argues the answer isn't about having a high IQ or a massive paycheck. Nope, it's all about a specific kind of knowledge: financial education.
So Kiyosaki's whole philosophy, everything he teaches, it's framed through the story of these two huge influences in his life, his two dads. And believe me, this isn't just some catchy gimmick. They're completely opposite ways of looking at the world. That's the foundation for every single lesson in this book.
And here's where you could really see that difference in action. On one side, you have his poor dad. That's his real father, super educated, PhD and all that, but his mindset was basically a closed door. He'd say, I can't afford it. End of story. But then you have Rich Dad, his best friend's father and his mentor, who saw everything as a puzzle. He would never say, I can't afford it. He'd ask, okay, how can I afford it? See the difference? One phrase just shuts your brain down completely. The other one, it kicks it into high gear and forces you to find solutions.
And all of this leads to what is, honestly, the central argument of the entire book. It's this: your financial future is shaped way more by how you think about money than by how much of it you actually earn. Let that sink in for a second. That one idea, that's the real cornerstone of building wealth. Okay, so how do we actually get that rich dad mindset? Well, it all starts with one single golden rule, a rule that literally redefines everything. And I'm not kidding. This is probably the most famous and powerful concept in the entire book. It's all about truly understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. So just for a second, pause and think about it. How would you define those two words? An asset, a liability. You know, most of us have a general idea, right? But Rich Dad's definitions are so simple, they're brilliant. And they completely challenge everything we've been taught about money.
All right, here's the first half. Super simple. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. That's it. It's something that works for you, generating cash flow whether you're punching a clock or not. It puts money in your pocket. And a liability? You guessed it. It does the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. It costs you money, it drains your cash, it's a constant outflow. It's such a simple filter to look at the world through, but I'm telling you, applying it is a total game changer.
Okay, let's put this filter to the test. And this is where the book really starts to shake things up. Let's talk about your primary home, the one you live in. Asset or liability? Well, according to this rule, it's a liability. Whoa, right? But think about it. The mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the repairs, it's constantly taking money out of your pocket. Now, rental property, one that's putting more cash from rent into your pocket each month than it's costing you, that's an asset. Your car? Definitely a liability. But stocks that pay dividends? Those are assets. This is the fundamental difference, right here. The wealthy focus their energy on buying assets. Everyone else? They tend to buy liabilities they think are assets.
All right, this leads us right into the next huge idea from the book. Rich Dad was obsessed with making sure you understand the difference between your profession and your business. Because, and this is crucial, they are not the same thing. Not at all. Think of it like this. Your profession, that's your job. It's what you do to get a paycheck, right? It pays the bills, it fills up the income column on your financial statement. But your business, that's your asset column. It's the stuff you own that makes money for you even when you're not working. And here's the key. Real, true financial freedom. It comes from building up that business, building up that asset column.
So what exactly is your business? Well, it's made up of real income-producing assets. We're talking about things like stocks and bonds, real estate that pays you every month, maybe even royalties from a book you wrote or a patent you own, or a business that runs itself without you having to be there every day. And here's the simple, powerful strategy. You use the money from your job, your profession, to buy these assets that build up your business. Okay, so knowing all this stuff is great. Financial literacy is super important, but the book makes it crystal clear that this is only half the battle. You know what the biggest things holding people back are? They're not numbers. They're psychological. They're emotional barriers.
And Kiyosaki breaks it down into 5 main hurdles we all face. First up is just plain fear. The
The fear of losing money is so powerful it keeps most people from ever even starting. Then you've got its cousin, cynicism, that little nagging voice in your head that says, oh, that'll never work for me. Third is good old-fashioned laziness, which we usually disguise by saying we're too busy. After that, it's our bad habits, the mindless spending on stuff we don't need. And finally, there's arrogance, the belief that you've already got it all figured out and there's nothing new to learn. That one is a real wealth killer.
So, when you boil it all down, building wealth is really an internal game. It's about you against you. It's about conquering your own fears, your own doubts, your own bad habits. Your emotional discipline is every bit as important as your financial IQ.
All right, we've talked about the mindset, we've covered the golden rule, we've looked at the obstacles inside our own heads. So, now what? How do you actually get started? The good news is, the book gives a really clear roadmap to make your first move. First, you have to find your why. And I mean a deep, powerful, personal reason. This is the fuel that's going to keep you going when things get tough. Next, it's about making a choice every single day to learn something new. Seek out mentors, read, listen to people who've done it. But listen, none of that learning matters without the last, most important step. You have to actually do something. Take action. You don't have to be perfect. Start small. You're going to make mistakes. That's okay. But you absolutely have to get in the game.
And that really brings us to the final thought, the question that ties this all together. After everything we've talked about, the next time you get a paycheck, it all comes down to this one simple question. What are you going to buy with it? Will you use that money to buy something that puts more money back into your pocket, or something that just takes it out? Will you buy an asset or a liability? The choice, as they say, is yours.